All right, looks like we are officially live in our Facebook group. What's up, everyone? Welcome to it used to be the Automate Your Agency show, but we're kind of rebranding things. We're going to call this the Agency Water Cooler, where we chat with, the experts in the agency field. And I'm just so excited for this show today because for some of you, you probably already know this guy. He is probably the coach of your coach. He's probably coaching the most successful agency owners in the world, right? And just a lot of good things about this guy I've heard from other groups, and he's actually been in a lot of podcasts that you already know, people that you already follow. And I think the topic that we're going to talk about today is just an overlooked kind of overlooked area of the agency life that most people just don't really put a lot of focus on. And I'm just super pumped to have our guest here today. He is the owner and founder of Consistent Performance Mentoring, and he's going to share to us how we can really just live much better lives and enjoy the business that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Kilian Markert. How are you, man?
What's up, Franbo? Thanks for this awesome and kind introduction, man. I'm super excited to be on this show. I'm honored by these beautiful banners below here, and I'm excited, man, to drop some value for your audience today.
Dude, let's do it, man. I mean, where are you at right now? Because I know you travel and every now and then, but I know we're in a different time zone. So where are you at right now?
I'm in Budapest, Hungary. I'm German. I come from Germany, but I live here, and so yeah, that's like Central European time. So
awesome. If you guys have any questions for Kilian, drop it down below so I can make sure that we ask him all the good stuff. We have a couple of people hopping on right now, which is pretty awesome. By the way, if you're watching the replay, this is going to be on multiple channels. This is going to be on our Facebook group or Facebook page. We now have a YouTube channel. We're going to have a podcast, and so it's going to be everywhere, right? It's going to be awesome. So Kilian, for people that don't know you yet, right? What do you do? And, just give us the lay of the land of everything.
Yeah, so we help agency owners achieve consistent energy and performance, right? So we help them really level up their daily energy and performance so that they grow their business in a way that's sustainable and that's also long-term and consistent and doesn't make them burn themselves out or sacrifice other areas while they do so, right? So what we really help them with is not necessarily business strategy. That's why they need someone like you, Franbo, like, delegation systems, outsourcing. That's like a lot of stuff for the agency. Perfect. You guys should actually join Franbo's services if you're not doing that yet. And apart from that, if you have that side of things handled, right, you have like business mentor coaching like Franbo, right, support with the business strategy side of things, but you're feeling like, actually, I know what I'm doing. And for whatever reason, I'm either not doing the things as efficiently as effectively as I could, or I work a lot and I'm sacrificing other areas. I wake up, I have low energy, and I, crash in the afternoon. I don't sleep enough. I don't sleep well enough. I don't work out consistently, and I sacrifice other areas. So I don't have any time. Then it's a question to look at, hey, what's up with you, your own performance, and then you might be the bottleneck in your business actually, right? And that's kind of what we focus on: the execution, the habits, the mindset side of things, and that's outside of the business strategy.
Gotcha, man. And hopefully we can, drop some actionable steps for people here to take today so that moving forward, they can kind of achieve those benefits that you kind of shared, right? Where it's like they have consistent energy, their procrastination is put to a minimum. They feel fulfilled, right? At the end of the day, I think that's super important. I think a lot of, even some of our clients, right? It's like they go through the day, they do a lot of things, but they still don't feel fulfilled at the end of the day, even though they have so many things. So dude, let's start there. Like, why is that? And I get that every now and then too, right? It's like, oh man, I'm so tired, but it's like, why do I feel like I didn't achieve anything? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there can be two reasons to that, right? One thing is you actually didn't achieve anything, right? So that's like the most obvious ones that you just know deep down you wasted a lot of time. You spent maybe the afternoon scrolling social media and you're like, low energy, you were crashing and then procrastinating a lot. And then in the evening you feel guilty because you have to play catch up. And then, you still didn't get as much done as you want. So deep down, then you would know, yeah, I actually should increase my performance here because what I'm doing is not efficient, right? So that is the one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that you actually are able to get stuff done, And then at the end of the day, you still feel guilty that either you haven't done enough, or you could have done more, or for whatever reason, you still feel guilty, right? And number one reason I found over the years is that you probably compare yourself too much with other people. You're, instead of focusing on your own input and your own journey, you're getting distracted by all the shiny objects. Oh, other people are crushing it, just presenting their best selves on social media, right? New milestones in the business. And you look at yourself, you see all the messy inside of your agency, all the parts which are not working, and while the others just post their wins. And so that is like a flawed or skewed image of reality. And that makes you feel unfulfilled. And so then, of course, social media itself, that fuels that a lot. And the other side of things, I would say, is that if you feel unfulfilled, chances are that you spend more time on doing things which are making you rather more unhappy instead of more happy. And these are usually things which are not in line with your values. That's also a question you should ask yourself. Hey, what are my values? And then there's this great book, probably read it, right? The Big Leap. What's my zone of genius, right? What am I really good at? Where should I be working in? And if all your day is just doing those tasks you despise, even though you're productive with them, you will still not really feel really fulfilled at the end of the day. So I think these are the main reasons for that usually.
That's huge, man. Yeah, that happens a lot when it comes to social media, where it's like you see all these other people kind of winning at life, and you can feel happy for them, but there's also that other side, right? The more darker side, where it's like, you feel like, man, I'm so far away from where I'm at. And let us know if you're watching this live, let us know in the comments below if you've ever felt that. But Kilian, I think that's just human nature, right? Like we kind of envy, right? Other people. But how does one like avoid that? Or should we even avoid that? Or do we use that for somewhere else? Like,
that's an awesome question, man. And first of all, a hands-on book recommendation for you guys. Check out Positive Intelligence. That's a really nice book.
What was that?
Positive Intelligence.
Positive Intelligence. Gotcha.
I'm gonna slaughter the name. I'm not gonna say the name. It's like Charzard something. The name who wrote it, the guy who wrote it. Can't pronounce that, but it's Positive Intelligence. And basically, the book is really about that. If you think about this, we have two brains we have two hemispheres, right? And so everybody knows about lizard brain and kind of reptilian brain and kind of these old parts of our brain, and then the newest additions, the neocortex and so on, which is more for like being in the present moment and so on, right? While the other things are more for the survival instincts. And same thing with those hemispheres, that the left hemisphere is more associated also with those instincts, while the right is more associated with being in the present moment, being more aware, right, resisting these urges and so on. So what he describes in the book is this, that if you feel the urge to compare yourself with others, these are just natural old instincts which are triggered by that part of your brain. So the idea is simply to know, hey, I gotta train my brain like a muscle, and I gotta strengthen those areas of the brain which are responsible for, he calls it activating the sage. Everybody has this wise sage in themselves who looks at, hey, we're all connected. Hey, I can learn from this. I can see it as inspiration. Why is it the best thing ever that someone's crushing it? I'm maybe behind, but it's an inspiration for me, right? So viewing it in that light. And so what you want to do is you want to train yourself in awareness, which is of course related to those small reps every day. And that can be something like actionable, right? You guys go to the toilet, you leave the phone outside, and there's no phone policy on the toilet. And then you practice kind of on the toilet, like washing your hands, you feel the water, or like you're sitting there, you feel your inner body, right? In those 10, 20 seconds, right, they accumulate. And these are like reps, like in the gym. And so the reason why I'm saying this, on top of meditation, which is more focused, right? If you accumulate those reps throughout the day, you're strengthening those areas of the brain who help you to snap out in the moment when you're like having these thought loops, and help you get into a more positive state. So it's totally natural, as you say, but it can be trained. It can be trained to snap out. and view it from a larger perspective. And then over time, you're not getting caught up so much in those emotions.
That makes sense, man. Do you since you deal with, consistent performance and energy management, do you spend a lot of time just researching and understanding how our brains work and, biology and stuff like that? And is that like a normal part of your life?
Look, it's something I'm super passionate about. So it's like once you realize that there's two pillars, right? One pillar is human behavior and habits, right? And the other pillar is, of course, psychology, like mindset, cognitive psychology, and those are very much intertwined. So that means if you really want to understand what makes people tick and why they do the things that they do, or why they don't do the things that they should do, then you got to understand those pillars, right? Human psychology, human behavior, and cognitive psychology as well. And so this is something I'm super passionate about. And once you understand that, we all have this, some people call it parasite, or other people call it, the pain body or the ego. There's so many names for what's going on in us, right? Once you know that everybody has it, you also develop a little bit this compassion for other people and for yourself even, because it's like a little bit outdated and flawed hardware that we have in our head, right? The brain that we're kind of carrying around. So understanding this helps you to say, okay, that's how it is. I need to train it like everything else. Like I go to the gym, I need to also to train my awareness, my mindfulness, my meditation, and so on. Because that, again, is something people don't talk a lot about when it comes to high performance. They talk about productivity and good habits, but really that awareness training is actually a habit itself that is super important to practice as well.
I think that's what separates you from all the other high performance kind of, in that field, like the coaches in that area, right? Because there's that element of compassion. Because I personally feel like when I see all these other, let's say, coaches and they kind of show their habits and whatnot, it just feels like, wow, they're perfect. Like they do it every single day. But then in reality, I don't think that like what you said, right? We might have these little gaps. And I think, in terms of your content, in terms of the stuff that you put out, there's that compassion element where it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect every single time, but what matters is that you kind of get back up. But in terms of like agency life, man, I mean, some people, they really have like time freedom, right? Some people they don't, but they're always like those, like for me, for example, right? I told you before this call, like the last few days, like my sleep has been very bad, right? Just because, and it's not always that way. But what are because you've worked with so many agencies all around the world, right? And I'm sure you've seen all sorts of habits, all sorts of systems and all that. What do you find are some of the, habits that successful agency owners have? Right. And maybe this is something that, people in this group can kind of model from, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you mean especially related to sleep or in general?
In general, as the expert, what do you see as like, good habits? Or am I even asking the right question? You tell me, right? Am I asking the wrong question?
Yeah. The thing is this, of course, sleep is one of the most foundational things that you want to have covered in any industry, especially as an agency owner. Because I would say as an agency owner, you're having a lot of demands to juggle, right? You have like fulfillment, then you have like lead generation, client acquisition, retention, all these kind of different areas that you're juggling. And so you want to be someone who is really sharp, right? As much as you can. And so sleep is a huge thing. And first of all, I would say the best habits that agency owners can have is that they, first of all, very basic, they understand that what you do in your personal life has a direct translation towards your business as well. Because you are the business owner, you make the decision in your business, and you also steer the business, so to speak. So your sharpness, your energy will directly translate in how the business turns out, right? So this is the first thing. And so there's this saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And this is this idea that if you show up and you have very bad habits in your personal life, it will also show up in some degree in your agency as well, right? You will, if you're not organized in your personal life, chances are you're also not organized in your agency, right? So this is what people see a lot as well, that if you start building those small habits just in your personal areas and you try to have them handled as much as you can, that you're not grossly neglecting any one of those areas, right? Then it's also much easier to then give it your best, give it your all in the agency. So what does that mean? Just generally, you want to have your sleep covered most of the time. Of course, life happens, right? That's the idea of consistent performance. It's not that you have this high performance and then you crash and you have these huge ups and downs. Consistent performance is more like you understand how consistency works and how to get back on track with the things you know you should be doing. And then over a long time horizon, you have consistent performance. I like to compare it to the stock market, right? I don't know if you're into investing, but if you invest into an ETF, right, exchange traded fund, you know that long term this thing is going to give you a good return, right? And you don't care if it has some ups and downs every few years because you play the long game. Same thing with consistent performance. It's the idea that yes, you might have some ups and downs, but you learn how to get back on track. And that's the most important one. You don't have these huge, periods of just, 1 month sprint, awesome, you crush it. And then you have a 1 month burnout where you don't do anything anymore. We want to avoid that, right? Because that's like really suffering and lack of life balance, and it's not good. So coming back to the question, what are the best habits? Well, covering your sleep, and we can talk about that in a second, what that means hands-on. Second one is making sure, of course, you have solid nutrition consistently that leaves you energized, that also makes you stay in shape and hit your fitness goals there. And the other thing is, of course, moving enough so that you're, especially for people who work a lot in the office, right? Getting enough steps in, working out regularly. And then, of course, very important, what we mentioned in the beginning, you gotta also live in line with your values. And you need to have something in your day that allows you to truly recharge. And that's what I'm seeing all the time with my clients, for example, is that the biggest reason why people start to feel burned out or why the sleep goes down is that they start to neglect their values and they don't do things in their day, especially in the evenings, that they truly resonate with, that they truly enjoy. Can give you an example, right? Had a client who we implemented a good evening routine for him because he struggled with sleep and he struggled with stress and so on. And funny enough, I gave him the tip, dude, ask yourself, what did you enjoy as a child? It's counterintuitive, right? We're in the self-development world. Like, yeah, you gotta listen to a podcast always about business, right? Always hustle, always on, man. No, but the thing is, asking what you enjoy as a child, and he told me about, yeah, man, I played Lego, and that was such a funny moment. Seven-figure agency owner, this guy, seven-figure agency owner, and I told him, he said, play Lego, and I said, okay, what kind of Lego? And then he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get this new, what was it? The Millennium Falcon Star Wars Lego thing for like $1,000. And he got this thing. And just in the evening, just for fun, he took like, I don't know, half an hour, 50 minutes. And he started building on that thing. And you know this, you don't have to do that, right? But it's just a sign that you can do stuff, not at all business related, not at all anything related. It's just for you relaxing. Like, can be anything, can be a small thing that really helps you, that you say, hey, that's maybe creativity, that's maybe anything related to your values, where you say, after this, I really feel excited, I really feel fulfilled. And then you also are able to let go better of business, let go of stress, of comparing yourself with others. You have better sleep, you wake up more recovered, and everything goes from there.
I like that. When it comes to recharging, does it have to be like off screen? Because I know like we spend so much time over days just like looking at our phone, looking at our laptops. And I think when it comes to recharging, I see a lot of research out there that, it's best to be off screen. Now, what if you enjoy something that, and what I'm scared about is maybe someone watches this 20 years from now and they're a kid right now, but then what they enjoy is actually playing games on the computer. So it's like they watch this, hopefully 20 years from now, and they're like, well, I enjoy playing games. I'm just going to keep looking at my computer. So does it have to be off screen, Kilian?
I would say there should be a balance for sure, because you have a physical recharging and recovery aspect, and you have also a mental aspect. And it's just proven that if you go into nature, you go into a forest, right? The forest actually produces chemicals and substances that if you breathe them in, like this is just, this just every tree has little how do you call that, like little chemicals. Basically you breathe them in, and they are healthy for you. They're secondary plant substances or whatever, right? So this is proven that the forest, for example, that's why people love that. When they are sick, they go into the forest, they breathe fresh air and so on, and they feel energized and recharged. So chances are, if you're feeling stressed a lot, that you're not spending enough time in nature, right? So that is one thing I would definitely, at least on a weekly basis, cover, that you have a nature trip and you go out. That's, from my experience, the easiest way to help people recharge is to spend some time in nature and make even a day trip or something like that. So that's super helpful. And then apart from that, of course, maybe on a daily basis, if you say like, hey, I want to watch a movie in the evening or something, then that's also great. But the idea is this: is it reactive and passive? You just take the first thing that comes on Netflix, or is it something you feel pulled towards because it's resonating with your values and your excitement? I can give you an example. Sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on the newest shows or movies, right? And I want to watch them, right? And then I have this agreement with my girlfriend that she tells me when we overanalyze what we want to watch, right? She tells me, hey, we're going to watch this because that's kind of our fallback option, and we know we love it. And for me, that fallback option is Cosmos. Do you know Cosmos by Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a documentary about science and about the space and the universe. And that's like totally my passion, man. I love the universe and all this astrophysics stuff and black holes and it's so exciting, right? And every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, dude, so good, so good. And it's really exciting for me. And that's pure relaxation. Kind of wakes up the inner child in me. I recharge. So I'm really actively participating while I watch that thing. Right. And that's totally different than when I just, watch any random thing on Netflix. So that's what I would say. Ask yourself, hey, what do you really enjoy? What's really in line with what lights you up, what excites you? And then, of course, you can also recharge with the screen.
That's awesome, man. Man, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole here. I'm gonna go on a tangent, but you mentioned about the universe and whatnot, man. Dude, are there like, do aliens exist, man? Like,
oh man, let's schedule 2-3 hours. I listened to all episodes with Joe Rogan on this, and you did as well, right? Yeah, man. It's after seeing everything what Joe talks about, I'm open to the idea. I don't know, right? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Elon's an alien, man. I'm sure he's a Martian. I'm just 100% sure. Yeah.
He's a robot. 100%.
Dude, that's funny. What got you serving agency owners? I mean, because like there's, it's such a broad field. Like you can help pretty much anyone. Like anyone can benefit from consistent performance and energy management. But why did you start with agency owners, or like how did that story happen?
I started actually very broader. I started with online entrepreneurs, right? Which were like, everybody basically working online business related, right? So that did included also e-commerce business owners, for example. And I can also, e-commerce business owners, same thing. I can help them as well. But the thing with agency owners is simply that I figured out that, first of all, most of them share this commonality that they're super into self-development, which is that, they got started with either Tai Lopez or they like Alex Becker, or they follow these guys who kind of or like Iman Gaji, they put out these courses back in the day and they promote this lifestyle. So these people are great because they've heard of things like building habits, self-development, and so on before, which means that we're building on some foundation already that exists. So I don't need to explain that, habits are good for you, right? So most people, they know that in that agency space because they're into self-development so much. and so they heard all these things before. So that's like one thing. And the other thing is simply that, yeah, most agency owners, like they're super stressed, man. Like the most agency owners I've seen, like they're super stressed and they lots of stuff to do. If you look at a coach, for example, some of them, like they're not so stressed, right? They have a few clients and they don't have so much to juggle, and they're not so stressed, right? So that's why I would say agency owners really have the need. Plus, they're in that audience of people where it's really fitting. So that's why I specialize on that.
Here's the thing, man. We work with so many agency owners, right? And it's like, I know that there's this kind of notion that, yeah, agencies, there's this lifestyle, but that's just one side of the coin, right? I know, like, we personally work with agency owners that are doing 70K, 100K, 250K. And even though they have a team, right? Even though that a lot of the work is delegated out, like when I speak to our clients, they're still stressed out, right? They still worry about the business, because the thing about an agency is you're providing a service, right? Even though you can systematize your business, since it's a service and you're dealing with humans, there's always going to be variability, right? Like there's always going to be emotions in play and stuff like that. And I think it just saddens me that people fall into this trap of like, oh man, I'm gonna start an agency, it's gonna be good, I'm gonna have the lifestyle, and you can, right? You definitely can, 100%. But there's always that other side of it. Like you actually have to do work. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that makes sense. So
Yeah.
anything you want to add on
The
that?
one thing I wanted to add on that is that, especially, there's the human element, what you mentioned, and there's also this team element, right? If you're, for example, just a solopreneur, right, or you have like an assistant or something, what many people underestimate is that how you show up as the founder and leader of your business, right? As an agency owner, once you reach like 7 figures and so on, you're definitely going to have a bigger team for sure. And that one thing that people underestimate there is that once you are the leader of a team, well, the way you show up as the leader will also determine the team dynamics. So imagine you're the agency owner, and every day you're groggy and you're unfocused and you're unreliable, you're unorganized. Like what should your team think about you? How will the team organization turn out, right? So if you then show up like super reliable, on point, sharp, energetic, like straight decisions and so on, clear meetings, the whole team dynamic is going to be different. So, right, there's more at stake when there's like a huge team element. And so that's why I think it's especially relevant for agency owners that they are like a great leader for their team as well.
Dude, 100%, man. I agree 100%. So Kilian, energy management. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, is there, I know there's like a bar of like how much energy we have and stuff like that, but how does one define that? And like, is there a metric, or is that a feeling of like, oh, I feel groggy and tired, so maybe I have low energy? What's your philosophy on energy management?
Yeah. So first of all, that's 100% correct that one important factor is definitely how you feel. I mean, because the feeling of energy and grogginess is also a factor determining your quality of life. If you can have money in the bank, but if you don't have energy, you can't really enjoy things, right? It's just life sucks if you don't have energy. So that's why that's one key metric, and that's one thing we actually track. For example, we track our clients. We track that when someone wakes up, how is the subjective feeling of recovery in the first time after waking up? That's very important because it sets the tone for the day for a lot of people. And when that is good, then also you start the day with momentum. You start the day in a much nicer way, right? After that, of course, you also can think, okay, how much am I able to sustain my energy throughout the day? And that's, of course, one factor is like, how foggy your brain is. And that's something it's difficult to quantify, but you can, of course, measure that in a way of how able you were to produce the output in your work blocks, right? I have people, for example, they track their deep work blocks and their shallow work blocks, and they rate them 1 to 5, how well they were able to perform in that. And that, of course, is closely related to energy and also focus and brain fog. And the other thing then, when you want to get specific, is things like heart rate variability, for example, right? They're a sign for stress or recovery, and therefore also how much energy you have. So these are then sign, and also resting heart rate with an Aura ring, for example, you can track things like that.
Is that the
And
one
so
you
these
have?
are things exactly this guy here. And
Okay.
the idea is simply that this will help you to quantify things more. But again, that doesn't matter if your subjective feeling. That's the first thing that should improve, and then you see the other things as well.
I know you have a, is it a book or an ebook, right? Where people can, just learn more about like having the right habits and whatnot. Maybe you can drop it down below. But what do you have right now in terms of like, what can people take away, right, in terms of them to just improve, right, the habits in their life and whatnot?
Yeah. So really hands on, if you want to start to make some progress in your habits, is like you got to start with your evenings. That's people, they
Mm.
don't understand this. Like the day starts with the evening, because if like if you screw up your evening, sleep suffers, and then the whole day suffers. So start in the evening. And that's usually the first fix I implement with my client, is that you have some shutdown time. That's basically a time from which time onward there is no more phone and no more distracting activities allowed, which could lead to email checking and business stuff, or like simply things that keep you reactive instead of truly recharging. So no more phone, putting screens away, and that's a time which is, best case around 1 hour before you go to sleep. Right, that's a great time for this. And then instead, you step by step start to implement an evening routine. Relaxing activities can be a hot shower and the cold end of that. That's super helpful for better sleep because it drops the body temperature. Can be journaling, can be meditation, can also be some stretching. Is very helpful before sleep as well. So there's like a number of things you can do, or just reading a book, right? Also helps to help people to fall asleep easier. And there's some other hacks and so on that people can do, and some of that is in our 14-page PDF, which is the ideal Workday blueprint for agency owners, which we can drop a link there. Also, if you join the group, our group, then you'll get that as well. And so you fix that evening first. That will massively help you to recharge, and also increase the heart rate variability, which is a sign for recovery. And then once your sleep is improved, there we talk about things like optimizing your bedroom, right? We're talking about making it cool, making it dark, blocking out distractions, sources of light, sound, these kind of things. Another thing is, for example, to look into how is your mattress? How is your sleeping position, right? Are you able to keep a straight spine? Also very important for staying, not having this restlessness when you're sleeping, because your body's not able to fully recover because you're in a weird position. So there's a lot of things to look into to optimize your bedroom. And then once your sleep is getting better, then you look into first, another fix is starting the morning in a proactive instead of reactive way. So that means a lot of people, they start the morning, have phone in the hand again. Like
Oh
first
yeah,
thing,
100%.
phone in the face. And I'm like, no, not good, because chances are that your focus is all over the place once you dive into those messages, those notifications, and you get distracted from the deep work that you wanted to do. That's building out those systems, those SOPs, or whatever, that hiring process that is going to grow your business. And instead, you're just going to answer fires from your clients, which is not the way you should start your day. So that means there having some systems in place, like some app blocking schedules, which help you to not even check the phone. Then you can still do for example, if you have a meditation app or a yoga app or whatever, and you do a little home workout in the morning, right? That's great to start a day like this. Hydration, super important. So as you can see, I'm not getting into a fully fledged morning and evening routine. We're just replacing a few bad habits, like phone checking at night, replacing them with what I call the 80-20 fixes, building a precursor of an evening and morning routine. And that already gives people momentum. And then from there, you build then out a longer evening routine, optimize your sleep, build a morning routine. And then on top of that, you optimize the day. But if you just get started with 80-20 fixes, start at evening, sleep, and morning, and that will already give you some solid results.
That makes sense. If you guys want to go more in depth about what Kilian teaches, just comment consistent performance down below. He'll give you access to their 14-page PDF, give you access to the group and all that. But Kilian, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to talk about sleep a little bit. How does I had two questions that I wanted to ask you, but how does one? So first question is, when someone wakes up, like how does one need to feel? Because you had that subjective kind of scorecard, right? How does
Yeah,
one need to feel? And second question is, you're familiar with the whole chronotype thing, right? Where there's the
of
wolf,
course.
the bear, and stuff like
Powerful,
that.
powerful man. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And it's like there's this notion that people need to wake up early, right? Early. But then there's also these chronotypes where it's like some people just, they're not primed to wake up early. So I'm just curious to know your thoughts on that. Like, what's your philosophy? Like, is that just BS or like you should actually listen to that and all that good stuff?
That's so true. That first of all, people have different tendencies. So I agree with the concept. However, people mix it up simply because they have bad habits, and then they think they're a wolf. Like, yeah, I'm super active at night. No, you just have blue light in your face all night, and that's why you don't fall asleep. And now you think you're a wolf, right? So that's what I always tell people. Let's eliminate all these unnatural bad habits first that haven't been around in evolution for millennia, and so then we can think about what are your tendencies. So that's the first thing. The other thing is epigenetics, which means that your behavior and your lifestyle can influence gene expression and therefore also help you to get used to a way that in the past wasn't really imaginable for you. So I had lots of guys, they really got used to waking up at 5 a.m. at some time because they've done it for so long. They build a strong habit around that, even though before that they thought like they're not really the early riser, right? So over time, sticking to some habits can also change things, right? So that's also another thing to keep in mind. Now, back to your question about how you should feel. Well, that's subjective because everybody has a different feeling of what feels recovered for them, right? That's the nature of consciousness. I cannot know how it feels for you to be recovered, right? I need to be in your head for this. I can't. But the idea is simply that if you just give your baseline the best sleep you've had in your entire life, that's the ultimate 5 out of 5, right? That you can remember. And in the verse, when you're like, how did you feel back then? Do you remember? It's like, whoa, what's been going on? I was so deep.
Yeah.
Like the idea is simply that you wake up and you're like, what? Did I just sleep? Like it was so deep and you've just gone, and you don't mostly, you can remember dreams, but sometimes you don't even remember them because your sleep was so deep. And so the feeling is simply you wake up, you have that feeling of excitement for the day, and you have that feeling of excitement that you want to crush the day, right? And that's what you should be striving for. But when you lay in bed like, oh no, you feel like a truck hit you, that's not good.
I have days like that. Like it's not very consistent where it's like I wake up, it's like, full of energy and whatnot. And I'm still pretty consistent throughout the day, but I'd love to have that where it's like, at least most of the days you wake up and it's like, it's like the sun is shining, it's like life is great, right? And life is always great, but it's like it's just that 30 minutes after you wake up, right? It's like, sometimes you just want to stay in bed, but I need to have responsibilities, I need to get up. And stuff like that. So maybe what you kind of teach of like having the right evening routine, making sure that an hour before bed, right, you turn off all your phones, all the blue light, and you kind of relax. That all contributes, and I'm sure there's all other things, right, in your 14-page PDF, but that all contributes to that feeling, right, that subjective feeling that you get when you wake up. Now, one last question, man. I mean, two questions, but this question, I just want to make sure we cover like a huge audience, right? Because like parents, people who have kids will probably struggle with this, right? And I'm sure you
Yeah.
have clients that have kids and they're probably envious of people that are single and don't have kids. So like as a parent, I'm not a parent yet, but my business partner is, and he's struggling with his sleep a lot. How do we go about that?
Yeah, so that I have to say, look, I'm not the expert on kids, right? I have to say this, right? So like I don't have clients, for example, who have like 5 small kids and they need to struggle all of that. I don't have that, but I have and had clients who have like 1 or 2 maybe small kids, and so especially if they're like young, if they're like 1 year old or so or below, it's like very difficult to do anything really, because like you can't really have a routine or a structure because it's everything so unpredictable. It depends on the child, depends on the temperament, and so on. So The only thing you can do is to try, if you have the option in your house that you can kind of alternate with your wife about who's going to wake up, and if you're able to, sleep in different beds, and, like, have earplugs that one night the dad can sleep through, if he, with earplugs and so on, he doesn't hear the scream, and the mom takes care of it. And the other night, maybe the mom can recover and the dad does it. That's kind of the only solution you can think of, so that not both of them wake up and, just have their sleep destroyed. That's one thing to think about. But the thing is this: once the child is getting a bit older and sleeps through the night, usually what's then happening is that you get the kids into bed first, and then you have your evening routine after this. And so then it's basically including the evening routine for the kids, and then after that you do the relaxation with your wife and for yourself and so on. And then you even rise before the kids wake up. That's usually how you go about it.
That's awesome, man. Dude, this is an awesome interview. Appreciate all the value that you've just dropped in the group. We've had a lot of, it's funny, we've had a consistent amount of people just hop in, hop out, just listening to this. So it's awesome. But Kilian, I always ask this question towards the end of the interview, but if you weren't doing what you're doing now, right? Say you weren't allowed to have an online business, right? What do you feel like you'd be doing? Like, aside from, like if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
So does it mean I'm restricted also by using online tools for the business? Do I have to have a brick and mortar business?
You could use the tools, but it's like, if you just doesn't have to be an online business, right?
Yeah, I would be a teacher for sure. I would teach kids the things that I teach agency owners right now. And that's actually not many people know that, but that's my mission in life, is to educate parents and teachers and children to have from a young age those habits in place that also give them the feeling of self-confidence, of self-respect, of self-love as well. And if everybody grows up knowing, hey, I can achieve things, I can learn, I can become better, and really love themselves and love others as well, man, the world would be a different place. And so contributing to that, that's kind of my mission, if it's an online business or teaching kids in person.
That's awesome, and it's a great ripple effect too, right? Because like now you're shifting generations of bad behavior by starting with kids and starting with the people that actually teach those kids, right? The parents and the teacher. So, dude, I love that. That's an amazing mission. Where can people learn more about you? How can they reach out if they have questions or need help and all that?
Yeah, you can just connect with me on Facebook as well. Just add me on my profile. And apart from that, you can join our high performing agency owners group. And when you join, we'll also tag you on the welcome post. And there you can just easily download the 14-page ETF, the Ideal Workday Blueprint that we talked about. So yeah, we're also going to have Franbo actually in a live interview in our group. So I'm going to be looking forward to that as well. So you guys got to join, the
We're gonna
group.
talk about aliens, man. That's all we're talking about.
Aliens. Yeah. And I'm so excited for this as well.
Kilian, thanks so much, man. It's been an amazing show. This is definitely gonna go on top of the list of our best interviews. People are gonna learn a lot. They're gonna just enjoy life, right, because of what they're learning here. So, dude, thank you for gracing this show, and we'll see you on the next one, man.
Thanks for having me.